Hello, hello, Mavericks. Nice to see you. It is Tuesday, April 12th. This is Rob Reinhold, and let's go ahead and jump into what happened over the last 24 hours. So over the last 24 hours, we had a risk-off move in equities. And if you want to take a look at the S&P chart, it only closed down 0.25% for the day, but let's really get into the story today because earlier today we got US CPI that the headline number was a little hotter than expected, but the core CPI was lower than expected. And the futures popped up 1%. So the S&P futures went from being down 0.5% to being up like 1.25%. That was almost a 2% reversal from the overnight selling that we had seen. We saw the NASDAQ go from like negative 0.75% to up 2.5%. So really big moves off this, I guess, relief that the CPI wasn't worse, but it still was pretty bad. And so you can see here what we saw was we saw this gap up. We ran up in the first part of the day, and then we did nothing but sell all day long. So ultimately, this is a nasty candle. If you take a look at where it opened and where it closed, this was a 1% drop. If you just look at the headline numbers, it was 0.25%, but this was a nasty day. If we take a look at the world index, the VT, you can see that they're even trading worse. I mean, they gapped up and lost it all, and we broke below this moving average days ago. There's nothing but bearishness on the equity charts, and there's just all there is to say. The markets are bearish at the moment. Let's take a look at the crypto basket. This is the 4 cryptos we trade divided by 4, and you can see they've come right back into this range. So for a brief moment, very brief moment, technically, the cryptos look like they might run. They did not. And they came right back down to this range. So at this point, short-term cryptos are bearish. Short-term, they're bearish. That being said, the question is, are we starting to see a turn? We are pretty close to some pretty major support here. So any further selling, I may actually become a little bit interested in grabbing a crypto position. But until that happens, there is no need to catch a falling knife. And that's what it is right now, a falling knife. So if we take a look at where we started the week, we started this week at a +1. The markets were back here. We were back here on Friday. This is where we closed Friday. And you can see that it was holding moving averages. It was trying to bounce, but it just didn't. But technically last week we said, hey, look, I didn't like that bounce on Thursday, Friday. I said it's very suspect, but technically speaking, it is more bullish than bearish. Above moving averages sloping higher. That is the definition of a bullish market. With the price action over the last 2 days, we are now going from a +1 to a -1 in equities. And any further selling will push us well below that 50-day moving average. And that's going to be moving it to a -2. So we have some negativity in equities. Question is that bleeding into currencies? And other than the selling that's been happening in cryptos, no, we are getting very muted response from the foreign exchange market. Let's prepare for the rest of the week. So as I talked about, we had that CPI number, a little bit light on the core CPI. Tonight, we have our first of 3 central bank announcements this week. We've got the RBNZ at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Tomorrow, we've got the Bank of Canada at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We will be meeting after that meeting, talking about potential trades on the CAD. The report I liked the best, it actually wasn't one of the central bank reports. It's this Aussie employment report. I think this Aussie employment report, it's going to get kind of a little bit lost in all these central banks. But I think this one is going to be a nice mover. So I'm definitely looking to be trading Aussie on Wednesday night at 9:30. And then on Thursday, we have the ECB meeting with the ECB press conference. We will be meeting live for that announcement. So we'll be meeting 15 minutes before the ECB press conference starts, and we'll be looking to trade that news report live. Now, I want to go into just where we are right now in the next 24 hours. That's all I care about in this video. That's it. So let's just look at that. When we take a look at the performance, the cryptos actually bounced back a little bit today. They actually bounced back just a little bit off of a really nasty day yesterday. The question is, does that have follow through? I don't think it does until we get down to that support level. Then I think if we see a bounce at that level, right now we are in nowhere land in cryptocurrency. I don't think it's time to buy at all. And let's take a look at the foreign currencies. We had fairly muted moves unless you were really looking at Euro Aussie. So the best trading setup over the last 24 hours was to be short Euro Aussie. Moved about 1.1%. Outside of that, you can see that there was very little movement. We're looking back over the last 24 hours has not been a great time for trading. It just has been low volatility, not a lot of movement. We do expect that to change tonight with RBNZ, Bank of Canada, and ECB. We talked about this on the weekend. We liked the second half of this week much better than the first half of this week. So let's go into each one of these currencies individual, and we'll check out its velocity score. And again, the velocity score is measuring what's happening now and where is it likely going to go for the next, let's call it 4 to 24 hours. All right, let's start out with Bitcoin. So this is a 4-hour chart, and you can see over the past week or two, it's been nothing but down. And all we're getting is drops, bases, drops, rallies, drops, bases, drops, rallies. This is absolutely a downtrend. So there is absolutely no reason at all for anyone looking to be going long Bitcoin. If anything, short Bitcoin is the place to be here. We go over to Bitcoin Cash. It's the same thing. Looking a little bit better. We just did break above the parabolic SAR barely. So instead of being like a -3, it's just a -2. It's not the worst thing in the world. Let's move on to Ethereum. Same thing here. All we're getting is selling, going sideways, selling, having low rallies. So rallies and low bases. It's all we're seeing. Until this changes, there's absolutely no reason to be long these cryptos at all. And Litecoin probably looks the worst out of the three. You can see here, nothing good going on in this trend, moving lower. As I said, I don't see cryptos bottoming out until we get down to the bottom of that trading range, which is probably about 2 to 3% lower than here. So for me, cryptos are just a no touch whatsoever the next 24 hours. Let's try to find something in the foreign currency space. So here is the US dollar. Now, just opposite, the US dollar has been climbing and climbing and really just pausing for, 8 hours here, 4 hours here, a little bit of a pullback right in here, but just charging. We did get this big red candle off of the CPI report, but you can see it came right back up. Looking at this right here, the dollar is, the EMA is flat, so I got to give that a 0. We're below the parabolic SAR, which is -1. The RSI is either a 0 or a +1. The dollar is pretty close to 0, meaning it's not showing enough momentum right now to go long or short. So let's just say dollar will check back in on you in a day. Let's find what is actually moving right here. Here we have the yen. Now the yen has been weak. We had some focus currencies this week. We talked about long dollar, long Swiss franc, and long Canadian dollar. All three of those currencies are basically flat on the week. Swiss franc is the weakest of the three. So all the long setups that we liked didn't really do anything. The short setups we liked were yen short, which yen has down 0.2% over the last 24 hours. We like pound. Pound was down 0.25%. And we also like the euro. And so this is what we're starting the week off. And the yen has performed very nicely. Now again, this is a 4-hour chart. So all we're seeing is selling bounces. We fall back down, and this time we're low basing. So we're just putting in a low base here. I love low and high bases. They are absolutely my favorite trade. We have no idea how long this base is going to last. So when the yen basket breaks down, I think the yen pops to the top of the list. But right now, the yen's like a -1. It's not quite ready yet. Here's Swiss franc. And Swiss franc was another one of our currencies we thought would likely have a decent week. We had a great first part of the week. Swiss franc was super strong on Sunday and Monday. And you can see we've given back some of that gain. Where we give it back to, we gave it back to what was a prior resistance level. It is a 13-period moving average. This is a really nice support level, and we're starting to get a green candle here. Now let's talk about this. This is a very early green candle in an area that we think support is likely to be found. It doesn't mean that the Swiss franc has to listen to us. The Swiss franc is going to do what it's going to do. We have no control over whether or not. But we know with using technicals, okay, these are typically good times to at least watch currencies. And if we get another green candle of confirmation 4 hours later, I think you can say, hey, that pullback is done and we could possibly make another run. So for me, Swiss franc, it's at like a +1 right now, just waiting for a little bit more strength. But for me, Swiss franc is looking good on the long side. Here we have euro, and you can see the euro was weak 2 weeks ago, and really we've just, I guess you could call that a little bit of an uptrend. We haven't yet really broken down the bottom of this last low here. So you can't say this is in a downtrend. It theoretically could still be in an uptrend. If we were to make a new high on this next run, I don't think that's likely. I think this thing is looking like it wants to go lower. EMA has turned down. We're right at the support. And unless we get better candles here, this thing is likely to break, come back down to this next level. And after that, you can see there's nothing below that level. So for me, I like this euro short. I like euro short off of maybe the little base or bounce here. But right here, right now, euro's like at a -1. I can't trade it until it gets to a 2 or greater. Pound was another one on our list that we liked for a short. Pound actually had a little bit of strength early on in the week, and you can see we've given it back. Ultimately, when you take a look at, okay, where is pound? I've got to say it's just sideways. It's just sideways. I'm not too enthusiastic about pound one way or the other. Could we get a little bit of a bounce here? Absolutely. Are we going to make new highs? Probably not. There's just not enough energy in this market, especially enough energy in pound. So for me, pound is a 0. I'm just going to move on and look for something else. We did have high hope for the CAD this week. This was my favorite long setup going into the week, and it's been lousy. I can't say it's been lousy because it's just gone nowhere. But for a trade, you say, hey, I need a trade to move, and it goes nowhere. That is lousy price action. Until we break out of this range, I don't have a lot of hope for CAD. So I was watching CAD saying, hey, you know what? I think this is going to be a good trade this week. It hasn't been. But remember, we do have Bank of Canada tomorrow. If either one of these is broken, now it's a clear sign to be either long or short the Canadian dollar. But you've got to wait until this breaks. Because right now, you can see there's just a little bit of movement going up and down, and that's it. It's not really trending anywhere. All right, let's check in on the Aussie. Okay, so the Aussie is, again, look where it is in this pattern. We talk about waves where we have waves up, waves down, and then waves up. And then sometimes you just get listless action. And this is listless action. We came down, we broke through this little support level. We came up, we had a really anemic bounce, and then we just kind of drifted lower. And then we got 4 up candles. Look, I'm not smart enough to figure out what Aussie's doing. If I go off my score, the 13 EMA is sloping higher. We're above the parabolic SAR, but the RSI is not so good. This is a +2. So of all the currencies I've looked at, this is the only one that's given me a +2, and it's a very, very weak +2. We come over here to the Kiwi, and the Kiwi is giving us an even weaker +2, if not a +1. As you can see, we are more in a moment of consolidation than trending. Typically not good times to be active trading in the Forex market or in the crypto market. So let's kind of rack and stack them and see where we stand. So here is our velocity scoreboard. And you can see we've got some weak stuff. Euro, pound, I like both of those to the weak side. But the problem is we just don't have anything that's super strong here. My guess is we're going to have to wait for both the RBNZ tonight and the Bank of Canada tomorrow before we get anything that is showing us some real relative strength here. Well, since we're here, let's take a look at a couple trades. So based on our list here, Aussie is the only thing that you can go long, and Euro, Pound, and CAD are the only thing you can go short. Let's look at those pairs. First up, let's pair up the weakest one. I like Euro the best on the downside, so let's pull up Euro Aussie. So let's take a look at it again. Bigger picture of where it is in its wave pattern. You can see we just made this big wave move down. We've got an A, we've got a B, we've got a C. Okay, so could we be looking at another leg lower here? And I do like it here. I want to see this support level broken. To me, this is going to be the proof that that ABC correction, this ABC correction, is failed, is when this neckline breaks. Once this neckline breaks, so 145, maybe 95, that is the point. That's the point. When it breaks that, you've got a smooth sailing down to 143.50. So we're looking at, 150 pips possibility there on this one. I like this setup, but let me just say this. We are in a period of consolidation, not a period of trending. When the market is trending and moving and volatile, I get more active. And when it is less volatile and less moving and more boring, I get less active. So yes, this is a decent setup. Is this the best setup this week? And I'm going to go ahead and say, no, it's not. There are going to be better setups on tonight with the Kiwi, tomorrow with the CAD, and the Euro on Thursday, Friday. There's going to be better things out there. So while I do like this trade, I'm looking to just wait for the volatility to pick up. We want to keep looking. Pound Aussie. Pound Aussie is also a possibility. We take a look at this. This one's been a little stronger. So I already don't like this one as much. And you can see here, what we've done is we should have made a lower high here, and we didn't. We made the same high as these previous highs. So that's the first sign telling you, hey, this thing is looking like it wants to change trend. And until we make a new lower low, the market's just sitting here in the middle. So short-term look, if I had to make this trade short-term, based on this chart, it's bouncing at support. I would have to buy it. Here's the great thing. I don't have to make any trades. I get full control over the trades I take. So I'm just going to take nothing. And last one, let's take a look at Aussie CAD. And looking at this chart, I'm just not excited about this. I'm just not excited about this range. I couldn't even tell you where it is in a wave pattern or any sort of wave formula. So for me, I'm just saying, you know what, not really looking for this. So if I had to make a trade over the next 24 hours, I'd be laser focused on Euro Aussie to the short side. Remember, we just have to wait 6 hours, 12 hours for some more major news to come out that's more likely to push things at much bigger levels. I think it's really a better trade just to wait until Wednesday, until we're through RBNZ and Bank of Canada. And I think those are going to be much better trading opportunities. Okay, well, let's wrap this up. We are seeing a strong risk-off move in equities. Ironically, we are seeing short-term bullish price action in only the Aussie dollar. I like Swiss franc. Swiss franc is almost there. It's not yet. This typically doesn't happen. When you see a strong risk-off move in equities, you typically see the Aussie move lower. And it's showing us it doesn't want to move lower, which is a good signal that there's more people out there buying and selling them. And I put short-term on both bullish and bearish because I'm really only talking about the next really 6 to 24 hours on Aussie. I do think the Aussie doesn't look great on a daily chart. I think we're probably going to see some more downward movement. But I do like Euro and Pound, just short term and to the longer term on the downside. So I would really love to see Swiss franc trigger to where I could then be short Euro Swiss franc and and short Pound Swiss franc. I think that's going to be the better trade. And as always, we're in the middle of a war. We're in the middle of everything. News can come out of anywhere, so always have your stops. As far as meetings this week, we'll meet tomorrow as usual. That is going to be 1 p.m. Eastern time. And then we've got the ECB press conference. So 8:15 a.m. Eastern time. Be there. We'll be looking to put a live trade on the ECB press conference. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.